Pearson at the Comedy and Magic Club for an episode of Behind the Punchline. I first got into stand-up comedy when I was a little kid. I always liked telling jokes. I remember telling jokes in first grade, second grade. If I could get people to listen to me, I would sit down and tell them jokes. So I started performing at the age of 10. And by the time I was 14, I was on the Mike Douglas show, juggling. But I had a comedy street act. And so by the time I was 19, I was the fourth best juggler in the world. And I would just, I decided to drop out of college because sometimes we make horrible life choices that actually turn out great. Like, turned out way better than I could have imagined. I had an imagination and like, life's been really good. But I loved comedy. And so I went to France and Germany and was performing in a, it's a Commedia dell'arte circus theater comedy troupe, but think of like Cirque du Soleil, but with a storyline, fewer characters in circus arts. But we'd perform in French and German. And then on my 20th birthday, I'd go, I'm out of here, I'm going to San Diego. And I was street performing down there. And as a matter of fact, when I was 20, I was hanging out with some other magicians down there in San Diego and some of the other street performers. And they go, Mike Finney is and he's a great comedic magician, especially this back in the 80s. He was great. And they go, he's performing at a place called the Comedy and Magic Club in Hermosa Beach. So we all got in the car and we drove up here and we said, but we don't have a lot of money. And the door guy goes, bring me a bottle of liquor. So we brought him a bottle of liquor and we sat right back there. And I remember I was 20. I remember seeing Mike Finney walk in. He had a black trench coat on and he talked to us and everything. He's like, oh, that's cool. It's cool. And 2.5 years later, not even that, a year and a half later, I was performing here as a feature act with Kevin Pollak, and it was amazing. There's a lot of performances that stand out in my career. Some from maybe violence almost happening on stage to some where you go, wow, I really did something here. This is really neat. Like I filmed a special a couple of years back, and it was such a great, I've done thousands and thousands of shows, but I just really felt, wow, this is really cool. I used to, so I do remember that night when you come on stage and it's your own special and everyone's actually really cheering for you, like really cheering for you, and not like, okay, we're going to the club tonight, who's this guy? And just a really neat feeling. One night, right here in this club, I'm performing right here, and I'm doing some stuff, and it's not really, shouldn't be a punchline here, but everybody over that section is laughing really hard, and I'm like, what is going on? So you got to look at your zipper. Are they laughing at that? What? And then I turn around, and my 5-year-old son is peeking through and mugging, and he's getting big laughs, right? So I go, okay, there's my son, and he gets a big applause and whatever, and so he leaves. So we go backstage, and we're talking about it. We're sitting there. The next act is on, and we're sitting there talking, and my son, you see him go, and he runs out of the room. And I thought, oh no, he already got bit by the bug. He's gonna go try and get a laugh again. And I picked him by the seat of the pants right as he's ripping open the curtain to save the other guy's act. Because the other guy'd be like, who is it? What's going on? It was funny. Crazy stuff happens all the time. One time, funniest experience I've ever had with another comedian, I cannot say, I can't think of it. But when you say funniest, the first word that comes out at me and the first thought that comes in my mind is the word fun. What's the most fun I've had with another comedian? And I just think we're a different breed. And so to me, to hang out with other comics is always fun. It's always fun. And because comics, we look at things in a different way. Like one of my best friends is George Wallace, the comedian. And we just have fun. So we travel. Like he and I used to pick 2 cities a year. We'd show up at the airport. It had to be outside of the country, outside of that, actually outside of the North American continent. And we pick 2 cities and we fly first class, spend 48 hours in a city, fly first class, spend 48 hours in the next city, and then come home. And then one time, matter of fact, we had tickets to Europe, and we get to the airport, and he goes, I don't want to go to Europe, let's go the other direction. We walked in and we go, what's the next flight heading towards Asia? And we went to 2 other cities. So the most unusual or unique locations I have performed. I'm going to give you 3 stories. They're all pretty funny. And it always has to do with a private show, meaning a corporation's hiring you or something. So when I was 20 years old here in Los Angeles, I get hired to do a show for 5 couples that are having a New Year's Eve party, and 3 of them own banks.
Wow.
And turns out it was Michael Milken's house.
Mm.
And so I go over, and they're just kind of standing around talking, and I'm performing in the middle. They're not really even acknowledging me. I just sort of do my thing. And at the end, they go, hey, that was really good. One of the couples got sick. The 6th couple got sick tonight. We'll give you extra money if you go over to their house. So I drive to their house. They're sick in bed. I'm at the foot of their bed. And they were actually really, really fun. It was actually a fun performance. So yes, it's crazy, right? Another time, I'm hired by Pepsi-Cola to do a show in Seattle. And they say the whole group, we're taking the train, the dinner train, to the winery and your show, and then we come back and that's it. So they pay me good money, and I fly up there, and I show up at the train. I go, what's the stage at the winery like? They go, no, you're performing on the train. I go, what? What do you mean I'm performing on the train? They go, yeah, you're performing on the train while we're going. I go, I juggle, right? They go, well, you're in the dome car. The dome car's 6 feet. I'm 6'3". I'm like this. You have this much room. You can't do anything. And back then, I was really much more of a juggler, where now I could easily fill the time. But it was crazy. And then another time, I had done shows for the National American Cancer Society. We did these big benefits, and we did one in Northern California. It was very successful. So they hire me for one over on Catalina Island. And I go, okay, great. But I tell my manager, I go, look, it's Catalina Island. If they don't have everything just right, it's not like we can just run to a store and pick something up. We're stuck. So make sure they have a good stage, good lighting, and a good sound system. Stage, lighting, sound system, not hard. Me and my buddies show up. The stage is a field. It's a field that's overgrown this tall. We're standing in a field. There's no seats. It's just people in a field. My buddy goes, hey, where's the lighting system? I go, I think it's going to be down in about 30 minutes. So he got to perform with light. I actually had people with lighters around me. And then the microphone was not like this microphone. It was a megaphone with a curly cord to a CB thing, just like this. Like, it really was so poorly thought out. One time I did a corporate event in the Library of Congress. It was so cool. I was on stage, and I had a giant window behind me, which you could see the Capitol building right behind me, like not even 100, maybe 100 yards. And I'm on stage in this historic, it was really, those are one of the things you go, how did I get this? This is really, really cool.